And we are back with some more Washington Capitals franchise mode in FHM 10. And in the last one, we went through the playoffs of year number 5. However, we found out that turns out Jeremy Larange was released from his rights. And I looked back at the previous episode. I looked back at episode, I believe it was 11. And it turns out he wasn't anywhere on the depth chart then either. So I must have just not noticed at the time. But Larange was indeed gone for a large portion of this past season, and I'm just glad he didn't sign an NHL contract with any other team, because that would have been a disaster. But when I looked at his rights expiration date, it said, I believe it said August 15th, 2029. It's 2028 currently. So I think that just proves my point that is definitely a bug of some sort. Because it's made me wonder, like, how many other prospects have just walked off our team for nothing without me knowing? Because that's not displayed on the transaction screen either, because that's something I don't think was intended to happen, right? And I believe I mentioned this the last one, but I'm pretty sure this is only happening to NCAA prospects, because I believe Lev Shunov was also in the NCAA, right? Yeah, he was in the NCAA with Michigan State. And then that was the same case for Cutter Gauthier, who was with the Boston College Eagles. And the same thing happened with him. And then, of course, Larange. So I guess from now on, whenever we draft an NCAA prospect, we should probably just sign them right away. I mean, I hate to do that, but that seems like it's going to be the only workaround for right now until that's fixed. Anyway, besides Larange, we do have some other players to sign here. We have Artamonov, Kartai, Phillips, York, Gauthier, Benson, Melanson, Soto. So let's get right to it. Kartai had 38 points last season. What does he want? 5.2. Ooh. I mean, it's not like we can't afford it. We have a lot of cap space. He had a 67 offensive grade last season. What did he do in the playoffs? He had 13 points in the playoffs. Yeah, we'll resign Mr. Kartai there. I'd say he deserves it. Start at 4.5. Doesn't look like he's going to come down too much. All right, I got him to 4.79. That'll work. Artamonov, he's 22. He had 32 points last season. Definitely want to keep him on board. He wants 4.6 for 3 years. I'll start at 4 mil. Ooh, he wasn't all too willing to negotiate. I only managed to get him to 4.5. That's fine. Phillips, what does he want? 2.2? Oh, that's actually really good. That's really good for Phillips. He had 37 points last year, but the years prior he had 55 and 58. And he had 11 points during the playoffs, so I'd say that's a really good contract for him. Yeah, even the game says great. What does Cam York want? He's currently making 1.95. He wants 4.1. Ooh, that's quite a jump there for York. What about these other guys? Melanson, 1.1. I mean, I guess that's good for him. He wasn't too great, but I could at the very least keep him as a 13th forward or something like that. Gauthier wants 2.1. Only 7 points last season. I don't know. Might just qualify him and then see what I could get in a trade, possibly. Then Zach Benson. He had 12 points in 57 games last season. 2.6. I like his puck handling. Like, he obviously has some better ratings than Gauthier, so I wouldn't be opposed to keeping him around. Physical ratings are great too. Soto, I remember not being impressed with his defensive ratings are kind of bad. I'll just qualify. Petrangelo, I'll release. Patera, I think I might sign him, honestly. He didn't do too bad. 915 save percentage in 16 games played. Yeah, I'll sign him. 2.4 though, I don't know. I guess we can afford it. Larson, I think I'll release. Yeah, I mean, his 1.5 star ability now. The only reason I brought in guys like Larson and Lazone was to sort of help the transition until guys like Ryan Lynn and Cameron are ready. But I think Ryan Lynn is, at this point, ready to make the jump to the NHL. I mean, even the depth chart says he's our 3rd best defenseman already. Then you got Cameron, who's waiting in the weeds. Lev Shunov as well. So I think, at the very least, I'm letting Larson go. But I think maybe Lazone I could keep around as a... he wants 3.4. I'll wait until I know for sure how much I'm working with after I get all the rest of these guys signed. I will say, the one area where Cutter Gauthier has over Zach Benson is his physicality. He had 64 hits last season in only 39 games played, compared to Benson, who had 29. And that was in more games played, I believe. 57, but I'm definitely not high on him right now. What about Melanson? How do you do physically? 50 hits last season and 64 games played. Yeah, he hasn't been too good either, but at least he wants a cheap contract, so I guess I'll give it to him. But once again, another guy I'm not high on. And I guess Gauthier could be like a good 4th line checker, but still, I kind of want to see what's out there in free agency. So I think I'll leave him and Benson unsigned for right now. I'll auto-qualify them, so we'll still retain their rights, but not exactly guys who I would consider regulars on the roster as of right now. All right, so we got our Artamonov, Phillips, Kartai, and Melanson signed. What are we at for cap obligations for next year? We still have 26.2 remaining for next season. Yeah, I guess I'll sign York. I mean, he's been pretty good overall with his defensive grade. I'll give him 3.95 for 3 years. Patera, I guess I'll give you, if you want 1 year, if you'll take 1 year, then I'll give it to you. I'll go 2.7 for 1 year. All right, 2 years. What if I gave you a little bit more money? Nah, he really wants that 2 years. I'll try one more time. 3 mil. All right, 3 mil for 1 year works. Cool. I mean, I would say from the perspective of Patera actually being a decent goaltender last year with that 915 save percentage, I would say, especially given the fact that it's a 1 year deal, that's worth it. That's definitely worth it in this game. Travis Boyd, if you want a cheap minor league contract, oh, no thanks. five mil for 1 year? Nope, you can go to free agency. That is a no from me. He spent all of last season, the time that we had him anyway, in the AHL. That is, yeah, not doing that. Larson is also walking. Lazone, I mean, he's a lot, but at least it's only for 1 year. Yeah, I'll give him 3.4 for 1 year. It's a good way to fill in the cap, I suppose. All right, we're down to 15.9 for next season. So I believe we're at least above the floor now. Who's left? You have Gauthier, Benson, Soto, Pietrangelo, Boyd, Bjorklund, Larson. I'm not signing these four. They can all go to free agency. I have all of Gauthier, Benson, and Soto set to auto-qualify, so I think that'll be it for now in terms of who we're re-signing. And the Stanley Cup champions of year number 5 are the Anaheim Ducks. This is their second championship and first since 2007. They went through the Vegas Golden Knights, the Edmonton Oilers, the Arizona Coyotes, and the Detroit Red Wings in the finals. All right, it is finally June 23rd, which means we can sign Jeremy Larange. Boom, there you go. Hopefully he accepts and doesn't choose another team. As for our other prospects, whose deadlines are coming up here? You have Kingersky, Lemire, Mata, McCarthy, Royston, and Williams. And then do we have any NCAA prospects who are unsigned still? Doesn't look like it. No, the rest of these guys are all somewhere else. So first up, Mata, 1.5 star ability, 3-star potential. He had 70 points last season in 44 games played. Yeah, I think I will sign him. Kingersky, 1.5 star ability, 3.5 star potential. Got some good ratings in there. I will offer him a contract as well. Royston with a 1.5 star ability, 3-star potential, very well rounded. I think I will sign him as well. Then you have Caden Lemire, looks good. I will sign him as well. Really good group of prospects here. Matt Williams, not too impressed with his defensive ratings, but I'll sign him anyway. You never know. Oh, contract maximum limit reached. Okay. Didn't think I was even close to that yet, honestly, but it appears that's not the case. All right, so we're going to be clearing up some contracts here, mainly of players who I know we're not going to be using at this point. Drew Krebs, 25 years of age. He's been stuck in the AHL the past 2 seasons. Well, for the most part, he did have one stint last year for 9 games, but wasn't very impressive in that time. And every time he's been in the NHL, just not really a fan. So we're going to be sending him to Edmonton along with Patrick Thomas. Once again, another situation where he's 23, he's spent 3 years in the AHL so far and hasn't really stood out as someone who I'd want to call up in a pinch. I mean, he's a 2-star ability now, but we got plenty of those kinds of guys. You can find them everywhere. So I think I'd rather just sign someone out of free agency to fill a 4th line role if needed, because his defensive ratings aren't too great. Positioning is at 14. I mean, that's pretty good, but hitting at 11, checking at 11, he's just not up to par of what I'm envisioning for a 4th liner or even a replacement player. So we're going to be sending him and Krebs to the Edmonton Oilers for 2 4th round picks for this draft. Offer trade, and we have to wait to see if it goes through. Hopefully that doesn't take too long, because we do have to get one more guy signed in. I believe it's Williams, who I haven't approached yet. Yeah. Oh, and McCarthy. So Williams and McCarthy. So let's just hope that trade goes through before the NHL awards, ideally. There it is. The Edmonton Oilers have accepted our trade of Drew Krebs and Patrick Thomas for 2 4th round picks. Complete trade. All right, now we just need to sign McCarthy and Williams. So offer contract to McCarthy and Williams. There you go. All right, time for the NHL awards. You have for the Ted Lindsay, Connor McDavid, the Art Ross, and Maurice Richard go to Leon Draisaitl, who had 58 goals, 72 assists for 130 points. My goodness. How many did McDavid have? 128. He was close. And the Lady Byng goes to Panarin. The Bill Masterton goes to Pavel Zacha, now on Pittsburgh. The Mark Messier Leadership Award goes to Gabriel Landeskog, now 35 years of age with Colorado. And the Jennings Trophy goes to Jesper Wallstedt of Minnesota. And for the heart between McDavid, Draisaitl, and Jack Hughes, It is Connor McDavid. The Conn Smythe goes to Troy Terry of Anaheim with 34 points in 20 games played. My goodness. The Calder between Keaton Verhoff, Trevor Connolly, and Michael Misa up for the Calder. It is Keaton Verhoff, I figured. Yeah, I mean, 49 points as a defenseman, that's... Yeah, I believe Misa only had, what was it, 42? Yeah, he only had 42. Oh, well, that's unfortunate, but no, he still had a good run. Still had a good year, did Michael Misa. The future is bright for him. And for the Norse, between Mikhail Sergachev, Moritz Seider, and Adam Fox, it is Moritz Seider, 63 points in 82 games played. For the Frank J. Selke, between Rasmussen, Farabee, and Helenius, it is Michael Rasmussen of LA. And for the Vezina, between Wallstedt, Vasilevsky, and Hellebuyck, it is Jesper Wallstedt of Minnesota, 925 save percentage and 6 shutouts in 76 games played. Jeez, these goaltenders do not get a rest in this game, I'm telling you. Executive of the year between McCrimmon, Guerin, and Pekka, it is Michael Pekka of Edmonton. And for the Jack Adams, between Halpern, Woodcroft, and Keefe, it is Jay Woodcroft of Edmonton. Here's our season summary. We reached the playoffs, had a winning season, and met our objective. No negative categories for probably the first time in this GM mode, I believe, and a longevity bonus of 4, bringing our total season score to 24 and total career score to 45. We have 4 points to spend, putting them all into negotiating. Okay, it appears we need a new skill coach. Our old one retired. Steve Ott might be a very good skill coach. Physical training at 18, coaching prospects 17. His offensive preference matches with our head coach. Yes, I will absolutely hire you. There we go, Steve Ott now on as our skill coach. All right, now let's take a look at our roster, see if we need anything in free agency. Obviously, if there's a goaltender in free agency who has had some good stats in the past, I might take a chance on him because we definitely need it. I mean, there's Prosvetov and Patera in goal, but again, if there's another option out there, I wouldn't be opposed to exploring it for sure. Then you have Lambos, York, Kostenko, Galvis, Huang, Lazone, and McCarthy on defense. I'm going to send McCarthy down. I will call up Lynn, and I will call up Cameron. There's Levshunov as well, which makes 8. Will Reynolds isn't quite ready yet, it doesn't look like. Then at forward, you have Afanasev, LaPierre, Crystal, Suzdalev, Protas, Kartai, Misa, Phillips, Artamanov, Lind, Deruyo, Carconi, Melanson, Larange, Royston, Kingerski, Mata, Lemire, Williams. I'll send all these guys down. Honestly, besides goaltending, I don't think we really need much. I like our defensive core is looking for the most part now. We just need these guys to get better. They need to grow. Obviously, you got Huang, you got Leshunov, you have Lin. You have so many guys who need to grow. Galvis could still have some more development time in him. He's only 22, 2.5-star talent, 3.5-star potential. So I don't think there's any reason to sign anybody on defense. I mean, we already have plenty of depth in the AHL as well. As for forwards, we're going to have to see how these guys do. Guys who have been sort of on the cusp of being in the NHL and not over the past couple of years, like Carconi, Melanson. We'll see how Larange does. Deruyo, I'm not sure on yet. So we definitely still have some guys who need to prove themselves. But I think we also have a pretty solid core group of guys here who are going to lead us into the future, such as Misa, Lambos, Lynn, etc. So I think we just go into free agency, find ourselves a goaltender, hopefully. Is there anyone who's been really good in the simulation? Vanacek wasn't that bad last year. 912 save percentage. But that's after 3 meh years in a row. Georgiev, maybe. He had an 897 the year prior to this, and that was only in 7 games played. But he also had a 918 in year number 2 and a 912 in year number 3. Thompson, no. Kochetkov, he had an 895 the year before last year. But besides that, some pretty good stats there. What does he want? 2.8? That's not bad. How much cap are we at? We're at 69.6 million right now. Yeah, I mean, it's not like we can't afford it. I don't think this will be too much of a hindrance either. So if he'll go 3 mil for 3 years, I'd do that. Let's see, who do we have coming up this year? LaPierre, Galvis. Those are the only real big names. I'm surprised Byfield's out here in free agency. Is that as an RFA or no? He's just a UFA. And at 25 as well. He had 79 points last year and LA released him. I mean, I guess maybe he just didn't want to sign. I mean, that's always a possibility in this game, but seems a bit odd. Certainly a very good player. Kent Johnson as well. He is also a UFA. I mean, we could go for Byfield, but the issue I have with that is that's taking away time from LaPierre, who was very good last season and I believe it was either first or second line center role. 68 points. And then not to mention you have Michael Misa on his way up who needs his ice time. That would only be taking ice time away from Misa. I'm not discounting the fact that Byfield would definitely make us a better team. There's no doubt about that. But it's just that with how much he's likely asking for, which let's see, 7.8 for 3 years. I mean, that's not bad. But I just have this feeling that with the way AI coaches work in this game, I just have this feeling that signing Byfield is going to mean Guy Boucher putting LaPierre on the second line and then demoting Misa to the third. I don't want that to happen. I mean, you could always put LaPierre on wing, I suppose, but you already have, a Fanasev, Crystal, Artamanov, Suzdalev, who came into his own last season. So, I don't know. Something you also have to consider is, does he fit into Guy Boucher's system of being a defense-first system? His personality is all right. His defensive ratings look okay. He's very much a hitter, so I do like that, actually. Doesn't give it away a whole lot. 44 shots blocked last season. What about faceoffs? 52.1 last season. He would definitely help. I mean, I am considering it. I'm certainly considering signing Byfield. I'm just nervous about what might happen if we do. Particularly with Misa. Wow, the draft this year is not too good compared to seasons past. Best player is a 4-star potential, Milan Bach. Oh man, he is a project. Are some of these guys generated? It wouldn't surprise me if we're getting into the generated prospects now. It looks like Bach might be real. His first year of play is 2023-24. Mule might not be though. His is 2024-25. That was a year after The Sims started. 24-25. Yeah, it looks like the draft is starting to have some generated players now. Luke Woods, Mike Locke, Roman Carmen, Dmitry Mazurak. Yeah, but it looks like roughly half of these guys are generated, I would say, just based off their start year. Here's the thing as well. If we sign Byfield, then we're signaling that's it. Rebuild's over. I mean, we did make the playoffs last year and made it to the third round nonetheless. So it's not like we wouldn't be an attractive destination at this point. But the only thing I'm debating at this point is the rebuild truly over? I think from a drafting perspective, it is because, this year's draft isn't all too strong. And other than goaltending, we have basically every position covered. And at this point, I've pretty much accepted that we're just going to need to find a goaltender through other means. I mean, if Ivankovic or Engstrom pans out, then that's great. But, I'm not going to be banking on them at this point because we're heading into year number 6 here. So can't afford to be waiting too long, especially when guys like Lambos, Afanasev, LaPierre are all in their prime, right? So I would like to win consistently as soon as possible. I mean, we'll see if last year was a fluke or not, but I would like to believe that it's not. So I might just do it. That actually does make sense. That makes a lot of sense. My only concern at this point is that I'm so worried about what's going to happen to Michael Misa. Like, I just have this feeling for some reason, coach is going to drop him down to the 4th line or something like that. But you could always, I guess, move LaPierre to wing, like I said before, and then have Misa as your second line center, assuming that's what coach does. But let's see, what does LaPierre want on his contract? 6.4 for 3 years and a no movement clause. All right, here's what I'll do. I don't want to extend too much for Byfield. I'll just go to 8 mil for him for 3 years. We'll see what he says. If we have to negotiate with him, that's fine, but I don't want to push it too much. I don't want to push that salary too high for him because I want to try to keep things manageable here. And it's not like Byfield's a franchise kind of player either, right? I mean, he's a very good player, but he's not, he's just not the generational type of player where I'd be willing to overextend that much for him, So yeah, once again, I will go 8 mil for 3 years. See what he says. If he says yes, great. If not, and we have to negotiate, then I think the most I would be willing to go is, I'm going to say 8.75, I think would be my maximum. Maybe 9 mil at most. So that being said, we'll go ahead to the draft lottery announcements. Oh boy, we already got rejected by Byfield. It's only the first day. 8.86 for 3 years. I mean, it's close enough to 8.75, but this is as high as I'm going. If he denies us again, then I'm not doing it. Again? What does he want? Nope. I'm out. I'm out on Byfield. No, thank you. He actually wants 11 million. You can have him, Philly. You can have him. Nope. So it was worth the shot, but that is definitely not happening. I cannot afford to give 11 million to Byfield. Absolutely no way. So in fact, I'll just withdraw my offer right now. Yep, that was not happening. So at least, you know what? I tried. You can't blame me. I tried. All right, time for the draft lottery. The first time we're not in it in this GM mode. And you have Tampa at 16, Vancouver, Carolina, Colorado, Toronto, Pittsburgh, Montreal, Dallas, Calgary, St. Louis, Philly, Boston. So Seattle moves up. Nashville, Florida, and then between Seattle and San Jose, it is San Jose picking number 1. All right, so with that being done, I think we're gonna end things off here. We'll see if Kochetkov signs in the next one, because I'm not going through the draft with how long this one has gone on so far in the recording. So I'm gonna stop it here, and in the next one, we will get through the draft and hopefully a little bit, or if not all, of the year 6 simulation. See you guys then.